Hey guys, it is Sam from A Perry Live, and in today's video, I am going to talk about Jeezy and Jeannie Mai. Yes, we are going to talk about the biggest elephant in the room that has been circulating around all facets of the internet. It's been on TMZ, it's been on BuzzFeed, it's been on the Neighborhood Talk, it's been on the Shade Room. All of the card readers have done tarot pulling on them or whatnot. Like, I've seen this on every angle of the internet: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. And so I figured that I would talk about it as well, but we're going to talk about it from a different angle. I have seen a lot of reasons on why they might have separated, and I came to my own conclusion, my own speculation, allegation, potential reasoning for the two of them ending their marriage, or at least for Jeezy filing for divorce. It is the best reason that I can come up in my mind, especially seeing that it's him who filed. You typically do not see a man who has filed for divorce. You mostly see a woman has done it. And this couple has been together for less than 2 years. So I am going to talk about what I think might have happened. But before I do that, I want to briefly introduce myself. Ciao a tutti. My name is Sam. I'm a black woman that lives between Florence, Italy, and Queens, New York. And on this channel, I talk about everything from pop culture, relationships, interracial dating, cultural learning. I talk about Italy. I talk about US. I talk about travel. I talk about a little bit of everything. And this is a new segment that I've now introduced to the channel. It's called A Perry Opinion, where I give my opinion on a topic. It's much easier for me to do this instead of making a video where I get all dressed up and then I end up having to record and record and record. So I figured I just do this kind of like podcast style. So, for those of you who are not familiar who Jeezy and Jeannie Mai are, I'm just going to briefly talk about them, and then we'll talk about my reasoning for why they might have not worked out. So Jeezy is a rapper. I believe he has like a history of like maybe potentially like kind of being like a D-boy. That's all allegation. I'm not exactly sure on that. But I know that he has 3 kids. I know that before Jeannie, he's never been married. And I do know that he is a rapper, but his music, the music that I think of when I think of him, is from like the mid 2000s, early 2000s, maybe like 10 or more years ago. It's nothing recent that comes to mind. Jeannie was on a TV show that was about style. She was then on the television show The Real, which is how I think she got into a lot of our homes. It was a Emmy award winning television show. She was on it for several seasons, I think from the beginning to the end. And before even getting on the show, she was married to a white guy by the name of Freddie. For those of you who do not know, Jeezy is black and Jeannie is Vietnamese American. And she was with a guy named Freddie, a white guy. And I think total they were married for 10 years. No children were produced from that marriage. Jeannie did not desire to be a mother. And they separated supposedly because of that. So in a nutshell, that is the two of them. That is Jeannie. That is Jeezy. That is what supposedly happened throughout their marriage, which made it not work, right? We got that out of the way. So they married. It's been less than 2 years. Jeannie, who did not want a child, actually ended up getting pregnant from Jeezy and having a child. She seemed really happy. He seemed, typical guys. For some reason, I see I really like the Black Boy Joy movement online, where I see black men and black boys smiling. Jeezy hasn't partaken in that so much. Gucci Mane has. who is like, I think Jeezy's kind of like, I think they had some drama, and I know they did a versus. Plies has, he's part of the Black Boy Joy. 50 Cent has, where you see like these guys who show their beautiful brown skin and their beautiful white teeth, and they are just enjoying life. When I see Jeezy, I still see like this kind of tough guy persona. T.I. has. I don't see this type of a joyful type of energy, but that's just like from what I've seen on his pictures online. So Jeezy filed for divorce. It's been a couple of weeks now since he has filed, and it's been something that's been all over the internet. I have watched not a lot of videos and stuff on it, but I've watched enough, and everyone has had like this, it's been like this build up of what has happened, and I attempted to make a video about this previously, and I just felt like I did not have enough information to completely like come to a conclusion on what might have happened. So I think I might have it now, especially being a Black woman that is in a relationship with an Italian, not with a white guy, but an Italian, someone whose culture I was completely unfamiliar with. I was a fish out of water, and I had to make a decision on whether or not I was going to learn and adapt and absorb and apply it to my regular everyday movement, or I was going to buck the system, or which is basically like bail. You know, my fiance and I, we are not legally binded. We don't have children. So it would be really easy to say, peace out, see you later, you know, bruh man from the fistful, you know, I'm out of here. It'd be really easy to do something like that. But in the case of Jeezy and Jeannie Mai, it's not. So I think that their cultural differences is one of the main reasons on why Jeezy decided to separate. Now, when they got married, it was a weird time on the planet. It was in 2021. People were kind of in this kind of state of, okay, we've survived 2020, but things aren't really the way that we completely want them to be. Are we in the clear? Are we safe? Like, it was a really weird time. And I feel like there were a lot of people who felt like this apocalyptic amore, if that makes any sense. Like, hey, there's an apocalypse. If the world was gonna end, it's gonna end with you and I. And you know, it almost seems like, you know, like 1940 black and white movie love. Wind, you know, like love is going in the air. Wind is blowing each other's hair. You're looking at each other deep in each other's eyes, and you're like, it's us together against the world. Like, that's how I felt that it was. And a lot of those kind of extreme, pressured marriages, once life went back to normal, it seemed like something that it's like, all right, we, you know, like, you know, false alarm, everybody, back to normal, you know, like it like let's act like this didn't happen. Okay, we can go out, we can have more than one person in our circle. Okay, if that's the case, this is not the person I want in my circle. That's how I feel. That's what I feel happened with Jeannie and Jeezy. At least with Jeezy. And you know, it's kind of crazy along with the timing, because of the simple fact that along with the, you know, COVID happening and all this other stuff, her show The Real also got canceled. So when I think of her show canceling, her being on the West Coast, him being in Atlanta, I kind of think of Cynthia Bailey and Mike Hill, and how Cynthia was on this show that was popular, that gives you a lot of connections, a lot of exposure. And Jeannie was on this show that would give you a lot of connections, a lot of exposure. And I feel like the women, even if they were not as successful as the men career-wise, I think relevancy in the amount of exposure that they got, I think the women were more relevant. And if you think of, we know Mike Hill, come on. I mean, no disrespect to Mike Hill, but come on. Like, all right, no one's checking for Mike Hill. He's not like an A-list, B-list, C-list actor, you know. He's like, I think he's like a television journalist or something like that, or something of that sort. And when you think of Jeezy, I honestly, I'm gonna be 100% honest, guys, with you. Now, y'all might think differently, but I did not actually think of Jeezy until he got with Jeannie, and I think there was some opportunistic energy from both of them, because even from Jeannie's point of view, Jeannie was like the cool girl, the badass. She was really able to tap into her inner fashionista. As you all know, there has been many of celebrity women, non-black women, so I can't just say it's white women, but non-black women who have become much more relevant from dating black guys. So, right, I've said, so I'm calling out some of the other things that kind of would have been underlining issues of why they got together. Jeezy sees Jeannie as a person who he can use as, okay, we're going to be like a power couple. She's on this show. She has resources. I know people. I'm going to be able to use her as a come up, right? Okay, cool. And it wasn't a show that was a testing, a pilot show. It was an Emmy award winning, long running show, right? So you have that. Then you have her, who is now single, who wants to be, who went from being this very, prim and proper, in the public view, Vietnamese woman who's married to this white guy, who was very vocal about, I don't want to have a baby, such and such. I'm a strong, independent woman. To now, you see the way that she dressed. She was like wearing like really, I'm not going to say that she was like pandering, but she was wearing really cool hip clothing. They would dress together. They looked like a power couple. She looked great. He looked great. She was tanning. And when they start tanning a little bit extra, sometime you're like, side eye. So, you're looking at all of that and you're like, okay, they are attempting to be a power couple in the making. Also, Jeannie, it was a good angle for her YouTube channel to be with a rapper who had some respect. I'm not going to say he is a well-respected whatever, and I'm not going to disrespect him in the hip-hop community, but he's not a T.I., he's not a 50 Cent. He hasn't taken his where he was and become like a television star and in Disney movies and television shows, on Stars, like producing, directing. Like he wasn't there. But I do think that he was attempting to use Jeannie to help him get there and to make those connections. Anyway, so when we talk about the cultural thing, right? And I'm sorry, I have to mark this. 13 minutes in, we're going to talk about the cultural thing. When we talk about the cultural thing, with her and him, she comes from a very traditional background. And I'm aware that Jeannie is born and raised in California. She is American. It's not like she is, she's not, it's not like she, she moved from another country. She didn't immigrate to the U.S. She's born and raised. It's her culture. It's her whatever. But she's still very much so connected to her mother's culture and the culture of her ancestors. And she didn't want a child, but she got with Jeezy and her thoughts changed. And there could be a lot of reasons on why her thoughts change. It could be because she respected him more than she respected her ex. And she also saw that if she had a kid, he would be able to financially support them. That's a whole nother thing. But if you look at a couple of things, that there are some red flags that are culturally like red flags in both of their cultures. For one, Jeannie's culture is a culture that respects marriage and things of that sort. Jeezy has 3 kids from 3 different women. Last time I checked, I'm going to say allegedly. I know he at least has 3 kids. I think it's from 3 women. It might be 2. I'm going to say 3 for the purposes of this video, but it might be 2. But I'm going to say for 3 women, he didn't marry any of them. He had drama with the last kid's mother. I think it was a little girl. And with that, that was enough of a red flag for Jeannie to back away. For Jeezy, when he looks at Jeannie, even though she has issues with her mother, she is very supportive of her mother. And how you have some people where they will keep their parents at a distance when their mothers or their parents has been toxic. Jeannie's mother is very close to Jeannie. And even though her mother, from what Jeannie has said on her page, so in my opinion, her mother was not a great mother, Jeannie is still very much so loyal and protective and a loyal, I would say, Asian child. I think it's very much so cultural for them, and taking care of her parents. So she's taking care of her mother. Her mother is very much so involved in Jeannie's home life and all this other stuff in her business. And Jeannie ends up getting off of a show after she marries Jeezy. And then they start to build this home in Atlanta, or maybe they're renovating this home in Atlanta. Now, Jeannie's mother has been very much so active in Jeannie's life. That should have been something that was a topic of conversation about what is the plans with your mother. And that is something culturally that is said to have been an issue with Jeezy. Jeannie's mother being so overbearing and involved in their life. And mind you, Jeezy's a guy who, forget the mother-in-law being involved in the life, he didn't even have the mother involved in his life. So you have the mother-in-law heavily involved in your life. You have in your house your wife and your mother-in-law only speaking Vietnamese. How come I cannot say this word? I know Vietnamese. Okay, maybe I'm saying it right. I don't know. You guys know the language. I cannot say that word right now. To your kid. So in your house, you're kind of an outsider, a foreigner. And I would not be surprised if it got to him. Also, and this is from both sides, Jeannie has said publicly that, and she's insinuated that, one, she didn't respect her ex-husband. That's fine, whatever. But she said publicly that she had a hot temper. And that is something that, as a couple, there should have been a lot of counseling ahead of time. And there should have been a lot of conversations beforehand, before getting married, before they decided to get married, move in together, move across the country together, move her mother in with them, renovate a house, have a baby, all this stuff. There should have been much more conversation. There are a lot of things that could have been discussed beforehand. Dave Ramsey says that the 3 top reasoning for divorce is religion, money, and children. And I would not be surprised if, I don't know if Jeannie is religious per se. I have seen her say like some prayer cute thingies with her daughter, but her cultural, in this case, I'm going to say culture, money, and children. I would not be surprised if those 3 things were the reason for him getting out of there. If you are a person looking to date a person of a different culture, you need to have conversations about everything. And there should not be a rushing in. There should not be a, I'm going to move in with you. That should not be something that happens, because there are so many stereotypes that you have to break. I know that Jeannie was most likely familiar with Black culture, because our culture is so much into pop culture. And it's not just that our culture is shown in Black movies and Black shows, in which a lot of people of different races watch, but you also see a lot of white people assimilating and appropriating as well as appreciating our culture. So it's on the forefront. So there are a lot of people who are much more familiar with Black culture because of the fact that it is so heavily promoted in the media. And then, you know what? Jeezy's mom, I think she's passed. Don't quote me on that. I believe she has. For the purposes of this video, she has. I believe she has. And when you think of that, the motherly like pushback that might happen, like, or the motherly advice that he might get from his mom before he would marry her or before he would divorce her, he doesn't have that in his ear. He also doesn't have that motherly support where they would possibly push back with Jeannie's mom. So it seems like an overall just a complete mixed match. I honestly think that, yes, they loved each other. I think there's still love there. But I think that there was not enough research done beforehand. I think they would have made a really great boyfriend-girlfriend couple. But a married couple, I don't see it working out well. I don't see even, now we know that he's filed for divorce. But if you look in the cards of personality, culture, history, things they've said publicly, they are not two people that I look at as being successful in a relationship together. So anyway, guys, that's my opinion on the Jeannie and Jeezy situation. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. Comment down below what your speculations are as to why they separated. Why do you think that actually, no, not why do you think, but what do you think of my analysis of them separating, of them getting together, of the whole shabam? What do you think of what I said in this video? Could I be onto something? Is it a reach? Comment down below and let me know, and I will see you all in the next video. And guys, I just thought of something, so I had to come back. I literally just thought of this before I completed this video and exported it and uploaded it. But this is something that is just kind of wild, because I'm sure you all have heard the stories about women being preferences, and then you've also heard the stories of different men saying, what do you bring to the table? And when we look at the situation of Jeezy and Jeannie Mai, when you look at this situation, Jeannie is a preference. No, she's not a Latina. She's not a, biracial woman, but she is a non-black woman. She has a preferred texture of hair. She's Asian, so yes, of course. And she also has a successful career that would make her desirable to a lot of men. And I just thought about it, and I was just like, it's crazy that this relationship did not work out, because for a community, and it is my community, it is the black community, black men, all this stuff, one of the big things that is like consistently said is, what do you bring to the table? And Jeannie brought a lot. So I was just, I was looking at a comment, like literally I opened up my YouTube and there was a tarot reader, and I clicked on it, and they were talking about Jeannie and Jeezy, and the first comment was talking about the manosphere and how this was like a couple that was like praised in the manosphere and how it didn't work, and like just the irony of it all. And I just I looked at it and I was just like, this is crazy, because most preferences don't even have to offer anything in the community. And women who are from Asia, Asian women, there is this horrible stereotype that they are submissive and all of this stuff, and that's why the men choose them. It's all BS in my opinion. But I just thought it was something to think about, when it comes to dating, because as you all know, on this channel, I am pro black women. I am pro date outside of your race if you want. I am pro, if it's not working for you with the same race, give another race a try. I am all of those things. And so looking at this, it's just for me, I'll be honest, and this is not to be controversial, but it just furthers the narrative that it's not black women that are the problem, because Jeannie, in so many words, was kind of like an ideal woman, and she brought everything that they would like, that the black men would have desired. So, all the cliches, especially for like the passport bros. So I just figured I would like throw that out there. I just saw that the comment, and I was just like, Jeannie brought her own table. And obviously it goes to show other women that it doesn't matter, and this is in my opinion, but it doesn't matter what you bring. It doesn't matter what you bring. They're going to like who they like. And that's something to keep in mind for all of you beautiful women who are stressing yourself out over men. Love yourself first, and those who love you the way you love you will come to you, if that makes any sense. So, and don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. So, I hope I don't get like hate mail for this, but yeah, I saw that comment and I could not just, I was just like, oh my gosh, it just, a light went off.